streams to filter through this land of ours and fill a sportsman's dreams. Enjoy what nature holds for us, her bounty never ends. Getting back to basics with the practical sportsman. It's always an adventure, no matter where we go. From a favorite hunting spot to the hottest fishing hole. Outdoor life we all can share with family and friends. We'll do it all together with a practical sportsman. We'll do it all together with a practical sportsman.
Hi there, come on in. I have good news and bad news. The bad news is the summer is shot. It is Thursday night, August 31st, the year 2000. Where did the summer go? Well, the good news is if you're a fisherman and you happen to be watching TV right now, which most people aren't, they're getting ready for the Labor Day weekend, I'm going to have some fishing for you. We're going to go salmon fishing in Lake Michigan, we're going to go walleye fishing in Lake Erie, and wrap up this summer. Stay tuned.
Fred Trost Practical Sportsman is brought to you in part by Marbles of Gladstone, Michigan, a maker of high-quality, handcrafted sporting knives and sporting specialties that stand the test of time since 1898. Construction workers in Michigan are in high demand. The Michigan Regional Council of Carpenters knows that carpenters and millwrights have many opportunities. Our 18,000-plus members stand for quality in work and in life. The Carpenters and Joiners Union, building with pride and quality for over a century. By Hawk Hollow Golf Course Banquet and Convention Center, featuring a clubhouse which accommodates 700. The 27-hole golf course winds through 500 acres of woods, hills, and lakes in Bath Township. Hawk Hollow, a beautiful place for a drive. And by the financial support of viewers like you.
When you see a cabin cruiser motoring slowly across Lake Michigan against an orange sun, it's probably trolling some lures behind downriggers. That's the Great Lakes way to fish, but you don't need a big boat. Lots of anglers use small boats, 14, 16-footers, and as long as they stay fairly close to shore, small boats are a perfectly safe way to fish. On this day, it was the last week in September. We're off the port of Manistee, and we're fishing in the Big John boat. The mate is Bob Allen, and he fishes a lot with Big John Emery. They fish tournaments all spring, summer, and fall. Matt Radzalowski was with us, learning the ropes of videotaping. And here's Big John Emery, the man who became a legend. He started making Big John downriggers when salmon fishing was born in Michigan. His first downriggers were simple hand crank jobs, but now he makes everything up to the state-of-the-art electrics. You don't crank anything, you merely push a button. These units will even tell you the temperature.
What you're looking for, if we were running out, for instance, we're going to try to find steelhead, what we'd be doing is looking for an abrupt temperature break. Say, for instance, it was 62, 63, and all of a sudden we hit a 5-degree break. That means that the water underneath us is colder. And that's what we're looking for, you know, and the closer to the ideal temperature, the 49, 50, you know, in the 46 range, those areas of the break.
The unit on the downrigger cable is a micro troll speed and temperature gauge.
This is a temperature control, and it takes the speed and the temperature at the ball. Okay. So whatever depth this is at, whether you're at a 20 or 120 feet, it will give you the speed and the temperature up on the dashboard.
First mate Bob Allen lowers the micro troll with the downrigger ball, and the temperature reads out 48.6 degrees at, 48.7 degrees. Different depths, different temperatures.
46.8.
Okay, that's at 45 feet, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to come up 10 feet.
How are you coming up?
I'm going to take a temperature. I want them to say we're going to take temperature every 10 feet and see where it's at. What do you got? 50.8.
What's that? 50.8.
In 10 feet. You went from 45 to 50.8. Okay. Well, tell me how thick the thermocline is here. Okay, what do you got there?
53.6.
53.6. Okay, so from 25 to 45 feet, and you could even get warmer than 53. In other words, you could come up and you could pick them out of a warmer temperature yet. And sometimes when they start getting ready to run the river, you will find them, and that's when they start darkening up, the Chinook salmon, and you will find them starting to turn color from being in the warm water. So that's one time that the Chinook do not adhere, and the silver salmon or the coho don't necessarily adhere to the temperature factor, is when they're getting ready to run the river. They will sometimes feed out of temperature.
This is how water temperature helps you find hungry fish. Now, the squid is a lure that is often used for lake trout behind a dodger, which is a big flasher that darts back and forth a few feet in front of the squid. An alternative to downrigger fishing for getting a lure down deep is to clip a weight on the line about 65 feet ahead of the lure. This is a poor man's type of downrigger. 1 pound of weight, 65 feet of line to the lure, trolled at 2.5 miles an hour, will take the lure down 50 feet. Now, another option is lead core line, which is obviously heavy line. It sinks. You run a long monofilament leader to troll a lightweight spoon. Now, the heavy line gets the lure down deep. The more line you let out, of course, the deeper it goes. Now, lead core used to be a lot more popular than it is today. Downriggers are preferred, where you clip the line to some sort of mechanism that will release the line when a fish hits. 7-pound weight stays on the downrigger cable. You fight the fish then without any weights on the fishing line. Now, this downrigger cable has a ball, a release, and a micro-troll temperature unit.
You got him.
See how I seen that right away?
I think you let go.
He's on.
Oh, he's not. He's just, is that a shaker?
I don't know. I think the first one was a shaker, John.
That fish is
Oh,
still,
yeah.
that's a shaker. He's just running towards the boat.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a little shaker. I can tell he's running towards the boat. Easy, now easy. Let me release that fish so we don't hurt him.
A shaker is a small salmon or trout. It shakes the line, but it's too small to put up much of a fight.
Boy, he's hooked good. I'm afraid he's hooked too good to, oh, now we got it. Okay.
A flick of the wrist, it's back in the water. We'll catch him when he's full grown.
Away he goes.
From Big John to our own Little John, but that's only when they're standing side by side.
Not tremendously big.
But it's a fish.
That's right. We'll take it after the last.
Well, John Ford had a much larger fish on than Matt had hooked earlier, but it wasn't a big fighter. Made us think it was maybe a large shaker, but it was actually decent size. But unfortunately, we couldn't keep it.
You got it? He's going to unhook him right off the back here.
Remember, we're fishing at the end of September, past Labor Day. Lake trout season closes in Lakes Michigan and Huron on Labor Day. Well, how do we know this is a lake trout? Well, it has a white mouth. Trout have white mouths, salmon have dark mouths. It's easy to tell them apart. Lake trout stay near the bottom, and it was caught on a deep-running downrigger. Next fish we'd catch was on a different rig yet, one where on the surface where the steelhead trout are more likely to be feeding. This is a little otter, an inline planing board. John Ford used it for night walleye fishing in Lake Leelanau. It attaches right to your fishing line, pulls your line out to the side away from the boat, and when a fish hits, the plug pops out of the release, and the board slides down the line to the lure or to a stopper or to a barrel swivel in the line so it doesn't interfere so much with the battle. You can see by the rod tips that the planer boards are working. Big John Emery designed these so that they actually skip on the water. They don't pull evenly like a big planer board. That gives irregular motion to the lure, and that catches fish. Notice here how I'm working the rod and reel. I'm not pumping the rod back hard. I'm pulling it back slowly and reeling as fast as I can when I lower the rod. I'm trying to keep constant pressure on the fish rather than pumping and relaxing to pull the fish in. This is especially important with a fish that shakes its head or jumps.
Yeah,
He's right behind. I've been extra careful with this fish for one particular reason.
Oh! Beautiful shot.
When you pump a fish hard, then slacken the line, you'll cause the hook to widen the hole in the fish's mouth, and then that lure can pop out when the fish shakes its head or jumps like that one did. It's a little trick I learned from Captain Ron Levitan in Lake Erie, and it works. Constant pressure instead of irregular pumping, that's one key to landing a higher percentage of the fish you hook. It's still fairly green, but
Okay.
still green. We'll let him if we can.
Bring him up further, Fred. Crank him up. Crank him up. Crank him up. Bring him up. Bring him up, Fred. You got it. Bring him up. Bring him up, Fred. Back him up. Back him up. You got him. He's in.
Nice fish, Fred.
Ooh. Do I want him? Yeah.
I think so.
I think we'll keep him.
Yeah, this fish ended up very soon on my grill. Took me 3 nights to finish it off, delectable with a wood fire taste. Now, I noticed in watching this videotape, when I'm wearing a hat, I look like I have as much hair as Bob Allen does. Well, that's not why I wear the hat, though. It's the sunburn factor. Hair doesn't get sunburned, but hairless heads do get sunburned. Now, this is a steelhead trout. Notice the white mouth. That's how we can tell it's a trout, caught right near the surface on an inline planer board. Now, we'll hear more of Big John Emery's fishing theories on future shows. He's had more experience than most.
Oh!
Even if my head would get a little sunburned, I'd love to be out there this weekend, wouldn't you? That was the legendary Big John Emery. He's still up in the Traverse City area. I know he catches some big perch as well as salmon and trout and other things from time to time, but he has sold out of Big John Manufacturing. He's retired. Of course, another guy up in that neck of the woods that retired is Captain Emil Dean. I haven't got to talk to him yet this summer, but we're going to do something in the coming TV season about Emil. He was the second person in Michigan to get his charter captain's license. Anyway, we had at one time, Big John was a sponsor of our Fishing Awards program, and here was a typical Big John trophy book. Here's another big lake species you can catch trolling with downriggers. This is a 43-inch, 31.5-pound king salmon. Ted Kemling from New Baltimore caught it off Manistee on a J-plug. That was the end of August, 2 p.m. But is the afternoon a normal time to catch salmon? Well, checking our Big John Fishing Awards data shows that success for trophy Chinooks is highest in August, twice as good as July or September, but 2 o'clock in the afternoon is not prime time. In fact, 11 to 6 is pretty slow. The 5 best hours are 8, 9, and 10 in the morning, and 7 and 8 in the evening. That's when Bud Janicki from Freeland caught his 34-pound 10-ouncer off Presque County. He was trolling a northern king spoon at 8 p.m. Isn't that a nice way to end a hard day of fishing? Interesting stuff, all that trophy data we've accumulated over the years. And of course now, Marbles is the sponsor of both our Hunting and Fishing Awards, and Marbles is helping us put together all of this data that we've collected over the past almost 20 years. And we will, at some point, hopefully this fall, start having that on our website for those members of our Outdoor Collectors Club and the Practical Sportsman who want to access this data and put together your own charts and graphs. Anyway, we do have patches for our awards, our Marbles Awards. We have a patch for the bear division, the elk, wild turkey, white-tailed deer, as well as fishing award patches, and that information is on the web as well as in our magazine, which, by the way, will be coming out in November. We've had a big delay, big revamping. The TV show is being revamped. The magazine is being revamped. Our club concept is revamped. This museum is being revamped. It's definitely a time for revamping, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to start the new TV season September 14th. But right now, let's sort of bop down to Lake Erie. where I did a feature years ago on walleye fishing. The problem that year was wind, as it has been all too often this year. The wind's blowing from the east, not the best for fishing, but this is typical charter walleye fishing style from now through the summer in Lake Erie. Planer boards, the most common way to run lures out to the sides of the boat. These waves look worse than they actually are on Captain Eddie McMillion's boat. Vicki Olmsted from Lajeunesse Bait and Tackle in Monroe hooked us up with Captain Eddie McMillion. His boat is called the Fish on 2, and even though this afternoon we had the lake to ourselves because of the bad weather, most boats stayed in port, on Lake Erie, the fishing is pretty darn consistent. Look, he's got a fish right there. Well, actually, we had 2 fish on, a very small walleye and mine.
Not a keeper. It's not a keeper, but it's a fish.
Walleye have to be 15 inches in Lake Erie. This one didn't feel like it'd make the legal limit, partly because the boat had to keep moving so the lines wouldn't tangle in the wind and waves.
Well, it might be a keeper. It might be. What do you think? Pretty darn close. We'll put the measuring tape to it here. Inches, 16.5 inches. A keeper. A tasty keeper. Yep. Put it right in the ice chest. Okay, this is an oversized ice chest.
Planer boards have a way of keeping the lures away from the boat. Being that Lake Erie, the water is beginning to get a lot clearer. The fish seem to sense the movement of the boat, and by having the planer boards, it's allow us to get the lures further away from the boat.
Do you catch most of your fish on planer boards?
The biggest majority of the fish come off the boards. The larger fish come off the dipsy divers and the downriggers.
And why do you suppose that is?
The bigger ones on the bottom.
Okay, so the planer boards have the lures out to the side, but they're not as deep, and the downriggers and dipsy divers put them deeper, but right behind the boat.
That's correct.
And when you talk big ones, what's the biggest one you've taken this year?
We took a 7.5 pounder 3 weeks ago. Last week Thursday, we took a 6.5 pound in the afternoon, and then in the evening we took a 4 pound 11 ounce walleye. Rather nice fish.
Second keeper, you got another one there? Go, came right off. Well, that's a keeper for sure. Yes. Tasty, tasty.
As usual, I caught the small ones. Cameraman John Ford caught the biggest.
John, I need to hold on to you.
How you doing? You getting me okay?
I can't. I'm turning the camera on and off, and I can't hardly see anything through the viewfinder.
Oh, he's gone.
Is he?
Just kidding.
Doesn't matter, Johnny. We're not getting any of
Yeah, this is a real good one here.
Anybody thinks this camera work is easy has another thing coming.
That's right. You know, he's coming at the boat here a little bit.
The western waters of Lake Erie get rough, and the wind can whip it up fast, but western Lake Erie generally doesn't have the big swells like you find on eastern Lake Michigan.
Yeah, here we go. It's right up here.
Here we go.
There we go.
Yes.
All right.
Well, this is a good walleye for July, but in April, especially the next few weeks, this would be small.
Look at that. How about a little round of applause? Round of applause for Johnny. Yes. You finally got it.
Well, as I said, this was late July, Captain Eddie McMillion's boat, the Fish on 2, a day when the wind shifted from the east, but it didn't matter, we caught walleye. Now this is the next morning. During the night, the wind had shifted to the north. It was colder. Conditions like this usually screw up the fishing. Our captain challenging the Lake Erie on this day was Ron Levitan, who had to find the fish again. When the wind shifts like it did, the fish move. So Captain Ron was ready with an arsenal of lures, planer boards, and downriggers. There was only one way we were going to find walleye, and that was to experiment.
So you run the spoon straight back off the back?
Right, we're running the spoons on the downrigger, and we're running about a 30-foot lead on them.
and we're kind of, the fish have split up now. They're not congregated in the top 8 feet. We've got fish suspended in 8 to 10. We've got fish at a 14-foot range, and we also got fish down at right at the bottom at 20, 22 foot. So we're going to try to cover all areas and find out where the most active fish are.
When you're the first boat on the water after a major weather change like this, you often have to experiment with everything you've got to find where those active fish are and what they're hungry for. Now, that's the practical reason for owning a variety of tackle and equipment. This big lipped body bait wiggles and dives deep. Walleye can key in on the sound and to some degree the color. And on this day, it produced.
Oh, it's shaking its head. Okay, you want to net it. I mean, you got to justify your position here.
All right.
So you net it just before I get it in the boat, okay?
Sounds good. Sounds good.
All righty, keeper.
Yeah, not bad. Let me get these pliers in here.
Well, frankly, I prefer to catch the smaller walleye ones, about, 20 inches or so. Those are the best to eat, the best in the frying pan. The bigger ones, well, they're more fun to catch, but they're not as tasty. And that is what you call the walleye fisherman's dilemma. A long-handled net is essential if you like to catch fish to eat, because most fish are lost right behind the boat. That's big fish or small fish. Now, Vicki Olmsted caught a few, so did Doug Tabor and John Ford. Then it came around to my turn again.
Another one?
Yeah.
Holy moly.
Wow, this is nice fish, man.
Oh, well, I want it then. It's my
There you
turn.
go. Yeah,
It's my, hold on. You take the, I
There
got
you
this fish.
Yeah, nice.
Oh, this is. Oh, yes. Does this have a dipsy diver on it?
No.
Good fish.
Any way you can get this out of my way here?
Yeah, sure.
That's Doug's fault there. No, this is a good one. Oh, this is a world of difference compared to the last one. Ooh.
You like that, huh?
Yes, I like this.
It's been pretty steady action here.
Steady, it's been non-stop. Bang, bang, bang. This is great.
Smaller fish tend to skip across the surface when you reel them in, but the bigger ones don't. They swim back and forth. They put up a battle. Like I said, this was taped in late July. Fishing like this in Lake Erie is available most of the summer, but the big ones, and I mean a lot bigger than this, are caught early.
Yes.
Now, you can find lots of charter captains in Monroe, Bowles Harbor, Luna Pier. Captain Eddie McMillion's boat is the Fish on 2. Captain Ron Levitan's boat is called Passin' Time. Both of these captains showed us they can put fish in the box during weather conditions that are generally bad for the average guy. That's the advantage of hiring a charter captain to fish places you're not familiar with. They have more equipment, larger boats, and a lot more everyday experience than most anglers. Oh, sure, fish are cheaper at the fish market. But what's more fun, shopping or fishing? Tough decision, huh?
Okay, so you're doing the conventional way.
You got it that way before?
Well, with a regular knife. So you're the other side, down to the backbone. I'll tell you what, Captain, that's the best job I've seen with an electric knife.
You like that, huh?
I do. Now, what do you do with the rib bones? Do you take them out with the electric?
We'll take them out.
But not with the electric knife?
Yes, sir.
Oh, you will? Okay. Look at that. Now that's impressive.
Do you sharpen those blades on that?
These are standard blades. There's a way you can sharpen them.
Okay, hold on. Let's see that fillet there. That
like
is
that.
a good walleye fillet done with electric knife. And let me also fish this out, because this is how I judge a fillet job.
Check it out.
That is, I give that an A. Look at that. Got the meat right along the backbone. There's virtually none left there. And of course, none on the skin. I would say, good job, Captain. Good. Okay, as we wrap up the show, a couple quick reminders. This Saturday is Puppy Saturday at the museum. We're going to be closed, of course, on Labor Day and Sunday, but on Saturday, Puppy Saturday, bring your puppies to sell. If you want to buy a puppy, bring the family. There's no charge to shop. There is a charge for people who have puppies if you want some additional exposure. Tara will explain that. Reminder for the following weekend, September 8th through the 10th, Woods and Waters outdoor weekend, very similar to our outdoor fair. In fact, they're having the Yoopers there and Bill Yoder with his deer. The following weekend, another similar outdoor fair type of thing is Whitetails Forever is having what they call the Bash at Berlin, September 15th through the 17th at the Berlin Raceway Fairgrounds in Marne. And the weekend, just reminding you, next weekend, the 9th, I'm going to be at the Marble Arms Polychoke Shoot, vying for prizes in sporting clays. I just love competitive shooting. Anyway, you have a good Labor Day weekend, a safe Labor Day weekend, and I hope to see you back here next week.
Fred Trost Practical Sportsman is brought to you in part by Marbles of Gladstone, Michigan, a maker of high-quality handcrafted sporting knives and sporting specialties that stand the test of time since 1898. Construction workers in Michigan are in high demand. The Michigan Regional Council of Carpenters knows that carpenters and millwrights have many opportunities. Our 18,000 plus members stand for quality in work and in life. The Carpenters and Joiners Union, building with pride and quality for over a century. By Hawk Hollow Golf Course Banquet and Convention Center, featuring a clubhouse which accommodates 700. The 27-hole golf course winds through 500 acres of woods, hills, and lakes in Bath Township. Hawk Hollow, a beautiful place for a drive. And by the financial support of viewers like you.
Hair doesn't get sunburned, but hairless heads do get sunburned. Now, this is a steelhead trout. Notice the white mouth. That's how we can tell it's a trout, caught right near the surface on an inline planer board. Now, we'll hear more of Big John Emery's fishing theories on future shows. He's had more experience than most.
Oh!
Even if my head would get a little sunburned, I'd love to be out there this weekend, wouldn't you?